Hi, my name is Ashley Watt, and this is my case study for our EDL 851 course. To summarize this case, teacher evaluations and recommendations of whether to rehire or not to rehire are due soon. And so I, as acting principal, was taking care of some evaluations. I went into Miss Stevens' class and she had several classroom management issues. The kids didn't seem engaged and they didn't interact with her content very well. When I visited with her later in the week about this, she became very defensive, didn't take any criticism very well, and when I chose to recommend not to hire her and talked about her with this, she obviously was very upset and threatened to get a lawyer. Some ethical issues that I see with this case, legally, it depends on the state rules. Here in Kansas, everything's due by February 15th as far as evaluations go. So that is something that legally we have to do that. It also said in the case study that this is a year that she would get tenure. So for Kansas doesn't have tenure anymore, but for states that do have tenure, if she were to get that, it would become harder in the future to let go of her. So that is something that could legally be an issue. Ethically, I wonder why this issue is being addressed so late in the year. It seems that Mrs. Stevens, probably being her first year and first year at the school, should have had a mentor all along. And some ethical issues are also the timeliness. I feel that if I was to observe her, I probably should have had a meeting after school set up to discuss it with her that day. So the timeliness of kind of our debriefing together should be addressed as well. So when we look at this, just a synthesized explanation, the principal is recommending not to renew Mrs. Stevens' contract after poor observations and debriefing meetings. Mrs. Stevens does not believe she has been supported in supervision or given any steps for improvement. When we look at the facts, the people that are involved here are me as a principal, Mrs. Stevens, of course the school board, because I'm the one that's recommending to them not to renew her, and it's going to take a rehiring process as well. And you always have to, even though we're not really including student issues in this, the students are, we really should do everything with the students in mind. And I really, as a principal, believe that she's not connecting her content to them very well. But in this case today, I believe that this principal is not doing a very good job of helping her do that. The place, for the most part, is Miss Stevens' classroom. We met in the principal's office, and of course this will come for a board meeting, especially if she brings a lawyer into it, possibly from the Teachers Association. The program that we're looking at overall is an evaluation program. So how are teachers evaluated, how are they given feedback, and then in the end, how are they asked to renew and not renew their contract. So this could affect, kind of have a trickle-down effect, I think, for the environment of the school. Obviously, Mrs. Stevens is already upset, but if I'm another teacher and I see that she was asked with very little help to improve anything. She was told that she was not going to be renewed. I think that could have an overall effect on teacher morale and the environment and climate and culture of the school. All of the outcomes could affect what students are in that class at that time. I think that's something that we have to take into account here, because we, as educators, know that sometimes there's just that class with a mixture of just those students. So what if she had that class in her room at that moment of kids that were just unruly and hard to deal with? I think the more information that I need to know about this case, I want to know what the overall structure of the evaluation system is currently, because it seems like this is all being done very last minute. I would like to know how Miss Stevens interacts outside of her classroom with students and other staff. And even though I won't necessarily take into opinion like this last question, what are others' opinions of Miss Stevens? I want to know what the students truly think of her. Do they respect her? Do they enjoy her class? And get a wide range of views from other faculty members as well, I think is important to. This is kind of that relationship building. What do people really believe about Miss Stevens and her capabilities? So to identify some options, option number one, if I took no action and continued on the path that we had, I would continue to the board and tell them not to renew her. Option two is to kind of take that recommendation back and just allow her to continue as she is without any interventions to help her. Option 3 would be working with Miss Stevens to create a plan of action for the next school year. This would kind of be a form. I know in Kansas we have a plan of action that this would be a form of, if you meet these, then you can continue on. If you don't, then we maybe not renew at the end of next year. Number 4 would be to create a peer mentoring. So work with somebody in her same content area, because I know a lot of her concerns lie in the fact that I, as the principal, don't understand her content area. So how could I possibly understand how she's teaching and how she's reaching students? So that could also be an option there. To evaluate these options, I think doing the no action, the pro would be that we will be able to avoid her negative attitude. Unfortunately, I think she's really upset and maybe she's not going to be an asset to the school continuing. However, it could be possible litigation and have negative teacher morale effect across the board. Option 2, allow her to continue without any help or interventions. This would calm her down. Maybe she would feel like she was respected more. We wouldn't have to hire a new teacher. However, it's not addressing the issues that I believe that are there. So if we're not reaching students, we really, that could be a large issue in the end. Option 3, creating a plan of action with Mrs. Stevens. This is working together to focus on the problems and promote student success. The cons, Miss Stevens does not believe anything is wrong, so it would take a lot of time and work with her, and she's already kind of hostile, so that could be a really big downfall to that approach. She obviously already doesn't respect my thoughts and opinions on it, so that could be an issue. Option 4, peer mentoring. Having an expert in that field, so maybe somebody that's been at the school for a while or is really confident in that content area, this would create less anxiety for her, maybe if she worked with them, and provide her more support in the area that she feels like she needs it. The cons to that is it could be time consuming, and I have to find another teacher. You can't just go and be like, I need you to do this. You would have to find somebody willing to help her. So that could also depend on the relationships that she's built throughout the year. As I would actually choose option 4. I would create a mentor for Mrs. Stevens, and I think this is the best way to meet the needs of the adults in the situation and, of course, the students, and improve our school environment as well. This is, I guess if I go into my steps of how I would implement it, I would meet with Miss Stevens, be very honest and upfront and say, I'm really sorry that it has taken me this long. I do believe there, put it in the I see this context of speaking that we've kind of researched in this, taking the blame out of it, and hopefully creating a better relationship between us. Working with her, hopefully finding a mentor for her, and then with that we'd create a plan that the mentor and Miss Steven meet to focus the plans. She could video her lessons, so maybe that would take some of the anxiety out of it, and she could rewatch what we're seeing, and I think that might also help her see that there is an issue underlying there. I would make sure that that mentor has an opportunity to visit and sit in and observe her room, and that Mrs. Steven can go and observe the mentor's room. And overall, I want to develop a better evaluation process as well. And I think that this mentor program should probably be in place from day one that teachers come in to it. I think, unfortunately for Miss Stevens, it's really late in the game, and now we've upset her. But hopefully moving forward, this would help her feel more respected and supported. I think overall, to meet this standard 2, this school needs to develop a better process for supervision and report. It has to be ongoing and consistent, so it cannot wait till the week before these are due to the state. It has to be something that is implemented as soon as the teacher enters the district. It needs to be timely, so if I meet or observe one day, I need to talk to that teacher that day or the next day so that it is on their mind. Provide actionable feedback, so actually come up with steps that are specific so that we can see if it's improving or how else to help them. And I think something that I've taken away from all these readings is having more than one evaluator would really be a benefit, so that maybe I as an administrator am there and I get to see it, but also having that mentor or somebody that they respect come in and giving them an opportunity to go and watch other people's classrooms, I think can be a really large benefit when you look at the evaluation process, because collaboration is such a powerful tool, and why not collaborate in evaluations as well? So that is my case study for EDL 851, and thank you very much for watching.